The rains are here with us, the climate has changed, and the weather has equally changed, providing the perfect ambience for a perfect holiday on this 13th day of November 2023. Good afternoon. Where are you planting your trees from? Welcome to the broadcast. My name is George Maringa, and here on TV47, we shine a spotlight on the activities of this first public holiday of its kind to focus on forestation. We'd love to hear what you're doing to mitigate deforestation in the country, even as President William Ruto leads the country in this important exercise. We thank you for joining us, but first, our top stories at this hour. President William Ruto leads Kenyans in tree planting campaign. Government targets 100 million trees for planting today. Ministry of Health distributes smartphones to community health promoters in West Pokot for effective service delivery. Plus, residents and road users plying the Lorgorian and Kehancha road stranded.
Narok iko na shida gani? Hii barabara ndio ina cover distance fupi kutoka Migori mpaka Lorgorian.
This is after River Mogor broke its banks over the weekend. Engages on our social media platforms at TV47 News, at George Maringa _ use the hashtag News Now. We thank you for joining us. To our top story at this hour, and President Dr. William Ruto is in Makueni County leading the National Tree Planting Day at Q Wetland in Kibwezi West constituency. The President is leading the nation in planting 100 million trees today towards achieving the 15 billion tree cover by 2032. That event is currently ongoing, and those are live pictures. As you can see, Dr. William Ruto, of course, accompanied by cabinet secretaries and other government leaders, ahead, or rather leading that important exercise. Remember, it was gazetted as a national holiday for Kenyans to focus on tree planting. We are covering this for you in the best way we can, and our Moiga William is on the ground, and we shall be getting the updates in our subsequent bulletins. Of course, the President leading the nation in this tree planting exercise. Let's cross over, even as our crew, does its best to get for you the smooth pictures, the coverage, even as President William Ruto, of course, is accompanied by CSO Pantuya and, of course, other leaders in that tree planting exercise that is happening in Makueni County. And, of course, this event is the first of its kind because when you look at the gazettement that happened following the cabinet sitting yesterday, or rather last week in Mombasa, that was held in Mombasa, there was a lot that happened. And remember, today President William Ruto has also addressed the opening of the third session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee on Ending Plastic Pollution that is happening at the United Nations office here in Nairobi. And that event, the President, addressed regarding the achieving zero plastics in the country, even as we try to get you good pictures coming in from Makueni. So that event that was preceded earlier on, the opening of the third session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee on Ending Plastics Pollution. And yesterday we did see that the Ambassador of Finland, Pirkka Tapiola, who led the Nordic ambassadors in releasing 2 reports that are aimed at achieving environmental conservation in the wake of climate change. And remember, President William Ruto has been very keen. Remember, he's also the chairperson of the African Union Climate Change Committee at the AU, and he has spoken so highly about mitigating climate change, as well as organizing the Africa Climate Summit here in Nairobi. And later on, just about 2 weeks from now, a fortnight from now, we shall be having the Conference of Parties, the 28th Conference of Parties, that is COP28, that will be happening in the United Arab Emirates, that is the UAE. All these are activities that President William Ruto seems keen to address and to convince Kenyans as well to mitigate on matters climate change. So those are, some of the issues that are, of course, surrounding the issues of climate change. And in his address today to the members of the diplomatic corps as well as the UNEP, remember this comes ahead of the UNEF 6, which will be happening next year, the United Nations Environment Assembly. But of course, in keeping with the tree planting exercise, we shall be going back to Makueni, where President William Ruto is leading that exercise. But in the meantime, in the outskirts of Naivasha town at Ndabibi village, Mayela ward, farmers across the area have benefited with thousands of tree seedlings donations from the El Smere Conservation International quest to scale up the forest cover. The region is adjacent to the Mau escarpment, where we are now joined by our own Willie Dennis Njiru for an update on the same. Over to you, Dennis. Good afternoon, Willie Dennis. I trust you can hear me. How is the tree planting exercise going on in your area?
Thank you very much, my colleague in studios, coming to you live from Ndabibi village in Mayela ward, right here in Naivasha sub-county, where we indeed had a fruitful exercise this morning led by the area MCA, who is going to be on set just briefly to bring us up to speed on nitty-gritties in regard to this exercise. This ward borders the Mau escarpments, and it is fundamental for what it has to offer in terms of environment. You remember from the first time God created earth and let all things exist as they are. But we have the responsibility of nurturing and ensuring that everything is all okay. Maybe, madam, you can just join us in set na utueleze hali imekuwaje kutoka wakati wa asubuhi hadi kufikia sasa na kushikia.
Ya majina yangu ni Jane Getuko, MCA Mayela ward, ambapo hapa tuko ni kijiji kinaitwa Moidabi katika Mayela, ndio pia watu wanaijua kama Dabibi. Tangu asubuhi tumekuwa na wakati mwema sana tukipanda miti kwa sababu ya mwito wa rais wetu ambaye amesema lazima tupande miti, na kwa hakika hii ni ya muhimu kwa sababu hii area yetu ambayo pia ni area ya kilimo inahitaji tuweze make sure kuwa our environment imekuwa conserved, na especially wakati huu ambapo mvua inanyesha, we take this advantage. Tuko hapa katika area, tumepanda miti karibu 1000 na tuko na tarajio ya kupanda takriban miche 5000 wakati tunapoendelea katika msimu wa mvua ya El Nino, na tuna uhakika kuwa tutasaidika.
Labda kwa kifupi tu kabla sijampisha mwenzako kwa sababu wakati kuna changamoto. Wale wako mijini wanapanda miche hii kidogo inaliwa na mbuzi. Hapa ni mashambani, kuna wanyama vile vile. Kwa kifupi tu.
Ya tumeahidiana ya kwamba sisi pamoja na administration, machifu wetu na ACC, kuwa na wakulima pia na wananchi, tutalinda hii miti, make sure wanyama hawapatikani karibu na hii miche, na kwa sababu ya the growing part of it, tunajua kutakuwa na sustainability.
Asante. Kwa kifupi tu, miche hii tumepata kutoka kwenyu. Jitambulisha jina na utueleze ni yapi ambayo mnafanya katika jamii.
My name is Anthony Karinge, the education officer at SMEA Education Center, where our main core business is conservation education, and we normally collaborate with the community, the schools, and all those who are doing conservation work. And today we are here very happy planting trees together with the community.
You have indeed alluded to the fact that we need to showcase this to our children so that we can extend this with a continuity. What do you have to say as a conservation center?
Well, we shall still continue supporting the community in all relevant key areas of our conservation. Today we are very happy, and also we have seen the desire the people have in terms of planting trees. So we shall continue supporting the community, and we see a better country with green cover. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. Indeed, you have heard it there from the locals here in this Ndabibi area of Naivasha, where they have alluded to the fact that they need to showcase this further and integrate what the president has initiated this day. We are going to be bringing you up to speed in the latest developments in our subsequent bulletin. And from here, I take it back to your studio so that you can cross over to other parts of this country.
Willie Dennis, thank you so much for that update. Even as staying with that as a monitor, also your social media activity, Kenyans from across the different walks of life are busy planting trees. Where are you planting yours from? I asked you to join us on our social media platforms. I look forward to your feedback. Now, the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, together with Multimedia University engineering students, have today marked National Tree Growing following the directive that was given by the government. The engineers are aiming at planting at least 5,000 trees to boost the government agenda of planting 15 billion trees by 2032.
Wanauliza nyinyi mnasema ulikuwa mnakutana kupanda miti, mbona hakuna picha ya miti tunaona?
As the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, we've been planting trees not only today. It's been our aim to increase the cover so that we can shield against the climate change that we're experiencing. And as engineers, you know, we normally interact with nature so much, so we normally do this to replenish back what we've removed from nature. Today we are here to celebrate the planting of trees, as has been set to be the National Tree Planting Day. Though we've been doing it, but we're doing it today, especially now that we're having a big convention in Mombasa, where people will be traveling from all over the world. You know, the carbon emissions involved, we are here to reduce the carbon emission, at least to reach the net zero, or if not net zero, even have some carbon credits. That's why we are here to plant the trees, and we are ready to show the students as they join the career, planting trees is part of us. As you cut one, plant more so that we reduce the effects of the climate that we're experiencing here and there. Thank you.
Okay. So my name is Zakaria Oma. I'm the chairperson of
To matters examinations, and the Kenya National Examinations Council, that is NEC, has cautioned candidates sitting for their KCSE examinations to be cautious of fake exam papers being circulated in various social media platforms. NEC Chief Executive Officer Dr. David Njagere has confirmed that the examination papers being circulated on social media platforms are not genuine and are only meant to deceive those sitting for KCSE. He revealed that so far 46 cases of exam malpractices have been reported in the country, saying the number has no significance in tainting the integrity of the exams. Further, Dr. Njagere said various measures have been employed to ensure schools in areas affected by ongoing heavy rains get their examination papers on time.
I can assure you with absolute confidence, there is no single genuine paper that can circulate on those social media platforms. What they're having there is fake papers. What they do, as the PS explained last week, like now the first paper will start at 8. So some of those social media fellows, they will collude with somebody somewhere, and they will look for an image of that paper which is being done. They will try to share it on Telegram. Fortunately, we are working with the Ministry of ICT, and all those cases have been neutered. So there is no effect. That is the double collection of the two papers, the morning paper collected at 7, and I'm sure you have seen at this container, it has been collected at 7, administered between 8 and 10, and the scripts returned to the container, and the center managers collect the second session paper at 12:30, administered from 2 p.m., and that has to a large extent helped us to curb the biggest challenge we have had of the early exposure of the second session paper. We have deployed adequate helicopters to that place, even parts of Kitui, Mutito especially, and we have deployed helicopters even this morning to make sure that there is no delay in the administration.
Back to our top story, where we are following for you that President Dr. William Ruto is in Makueni County leading the National Tree Planting Day at Key Wetland in Kibwezi West constituency. The president is leading the nation in planting 100 million trees today towards achieving the 15 billion tree cover by 2032. Let's cross over to Makueni for that tree planting exercise being led by William Ruto, the president. And that, of course, I'm informed you shall be getting that as a story in a short while. But in the meantime, the Garissa Township Member of Parliament, Deko Mohammed, has called on President William Ruto not to lose focus in his agenda of getting the country's economy back on track. The most recent criticism came from the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, who want the government to address various concerns to make the lives of ordinary citizens better. Speaking at the Garissa Farmers Training Center during a UDM sensitization meeting ahead of the national election that had been slated for 9th December, Deko said that Kenyans must wake up to the reality as the government continues with efforts to revive the country's struggling economy.
Tutakuwa na free school education. Tukasema tutakuwa na universal healthcare, free universal healthcare, which is going to be implemented na president. All those programs ambayo tulikuwa nayo kwa manifesto yetu inahitaji nini? Resources to implement them. Ama sio? So what is happening? There are only two ways you can raise to finance those budgets. Either you borrow or you collect taxes from the I don't think watu wa Kenya walikuwa na expect Ruto atoe pesa kwa mfuko yake, apeane ajenge manyumba ama apeane free education. They knew that for them to get all these services the government is talking about, security is another thing. We have a challenge in security. We need more money to finance that sector. So tukaongea hustlers fund, they need money to finance that. So the two ways, you either collect taxes or you borrow. One, if you borrow, you have to pay. So how do you pay again? You collect taxes from the people with interest again. Tumeelewana? So tukasema we have to raise our own taxes because again, when we came to this government, the previous government had borrowed to the tune of 9.8 trillion, and our ceiling was 10 trillion. So tumebakisha ngine 200 billion. Finance, so it's not going to be possible. Na hiyo pesa ambayo 9.8 trillion Ruto has to pay.
Cabinet Secretary for Health, that is Susan Nakumisha, together with her Principal Secretary Mary Muthoni, have distributed more than 2,400 smartphones to community health promoters for effective service delivery within West Pokot County. The duo also delivered essential health equipment expected to be distributed to health centers. The consignment consisted of smartphones, box kits, fridges, and special beds. CS Nakumisha said the community health promoters have already been trained and were given kits to start delivering door-to-door health services to locals. She added that the Kenya Kwanza government is aiming to ensure that health services are available, accessible and affordable to every Kenyan.
Nafurahi kama gavana, nimepokea waziri wetu wa afya ambaye pia ni jirani wetu. Lengo ya yeye kuja leo ni kuja kupokeza watu wa CHPs smartphones ambaye itawasaidia kufanya kazi yao kuliko kubebana na zile mzigo ya vitabu. Na nimefurahi sana kukaribisha waziri hapa na PS wake kwa sababu hawa CHPs wanafanya kazi mzuri. Tunashukuru pia serikali kuu kwa sababu ya kits ambapo wamepatia CHPs wote wa West Pokot. Na leo pia ameleta hizi smartphones ambaye mumeona vile umepokea na umefurahi sana kwa sababu kazi yao sasa itakuwa rahisi. Sisi serikali
timiza ahadi yangu. Nimeleta hiyo fridge na nimeleta hizo vitanda. Jambo la pili ambayo pia limenileta, mmejua nationally tuko na 100,000 community health promoters. Hapa West Pokot County tuko na 2,423 community health promoters. Tulishawafanyia training, tumewapatia kits Sasa leo nimekuja kuhandover smartphones. Sababu tumesema kazi yao sasa ikuwe rahisi, ikuwe digitized. Wakiingia kwa homestead wanachukua details za hiyo homestead kupitia kwa hizi digital phones ambazo tumewapatia leo, na tumeleta the total amount of 2423 to ensure kila community health promoter ako na hiyo smartphone ili akaweze kufanya kazi yake kwa urahisi.
Now, residents at the Narok-Migori border are participating in a series of peace meetings in Angata-Baragoi area following a peace accord that was drawn in Lolgorian to help bring harmony between the two communities. The meeting called for further peaceful coexistence between people living in the border. Present in the meeting were residents from both Gwitembe and Angata-Baragoi, elders from both sides of the Kuria and Kipsigis community, businessmen among other leaders. A final meeting will be held, which both the governors of Migori and Narok counties will be present, and also the two respective county commissioners.
Kwa majina ninaitwa Joel Kirui, mkazi ya Angata-Baragoi, Narok County. Tunashukuru sana kwa wazee wa Angata na wazee wa kutoka sehemu ya Nyanza, Gwitembe, wakina Kipuga. Tumeongea kuhusu amani. Tumeongea kuhusu amani, tumeelewana. Amani itumu kuanzia leo na iendelee hadi milele. Wamama wa Gwitembe kama hata kesho wakuje kwa soko. Na hakuna mwenye anakusa hawa. Sisi hata wenyewe tunaenda paka hata Ndimaru na hakuna mwenye anakusa. Mtu mwenye unajua jirani yako sio mzuri, uambie chief au uambie mtu karibu na wewe. Ukiona kijana ambaye anataka kuanza maneno ya vita tena. Sisi hatutaki vita kuanzia leo na hatutaki maneno, hatutaki fitina. Mkuje kwa soko tuendelee na maendeleo, tutafutie watoto. Asanteni sana.
Daniel Soy, ikiwa chairman wa Mila katika Kipsigis, Transmara South. Kwa siku ya leo tumekuja kuhitimisha tukiwa na jirani yetu wa Migori County ya kwamba amani imedumu. Na amani tulikubaliana kuanzia tarehe 2 mwezi wa 11 pale Lolgorian, na leo tarehe 9 tumekuja kuhitimisha. Amani imekuwa ama haijakuwa? Imekuwa ama haijakuwa?
Now to our earlier story, where residents and road users plying the Lolgorian and Kehancha road have asked both the national and county governments to repair the road that has been rendered impassable after River Mogor broke its banks over the weekend. The residents, who are mostly businessmen, border riders and farmers, could not access the Kehancha and Lolgorian markets due to the flooded bridge. The residents now want quick action taken to ensure the bridge at River Mogor is raised so that the raging flood waters cannot affect their daily activities. The residents spent the better part of the day contemplating on which alternative routes to use until dusk caught them up.
Ya Narok iko na shida gani? Hii barabara ndio ina cover distance fupi kutoka Migori mpaka Lolgorian. Na hii barabara inafanya biashara mingi sana kutoka Migori mpaka Lolgorian. Mnaelewa? So mbona hawezi tuinulia hii barabara? Inasababisha watu wengi wanasimama hivyo wanakwama kwenda kufanya shughuli zao.
Mimi nimesuliwa, nimetoka Kilgoris na kuja kupata hii daraja imekuwa na maji mengi, watu wamekaa ngambo ile na ngambo hii. Sasa diari imekuwa usiku. Sasa tunashangaa hii serikali ya Narok wainuliwe, hii madaraja inuliwe kwa sababu ya watu kuteseka. Jioni watu wanalala kwa msoni, wanaenda kulala mali zingine ambaye haistahili kulala.
Kwa naenda Lolgorian soko. Sasa nimemaliza soko, naenda kuona watoto wangu nyumbani, nimesuhuliwa na daraja na bata daraja inaacha. Sasa naomba gavana ya hapa Narok County tusaidie tutengeneze kwa daraja ili nipate kuenda kuona watoto wangu. Sasa nalala nje, sijajua watoto wangu vile wako, na chenye nilitafutia watoto wangu niko nayo kwa mfuko, sijai kuwaona vile wako. Watoto wanateseka, jamani, naomba mtutengenezee daraja.
Now, you remember earlier on I had mentioned the President's address at UNEP headquarters. Earlier on, President William Ruto urged countries across the world to explore alternatives to use of plastic bags as part of efforts to tackle pollution. The President asked producers and innovators to rethink plastic products and packaging to reflect the principles of reuse, refill and repair. The President further argued that there was need to explore alternative options such as non-plastic substitutes, alternative plastics and plastic products that do not have negative environmental, health and social impacts. President Ruto spoke at the United Nations office in Gigiri, Nairobi, during the opening of the third session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee on Ending Plastic Pollution.
I would like to affirm Kenya's commitment to ending plastic pollution. We demonstrated this commitment with a ban on the manufacture and use of polythene bags in 2017, followed closely in 2020 with a ban on single-use plastics in protected areas such as national parks, forests, and beaches. Further, in July 2022, Kenya enacted the Sustainable Waste Management Act, which made our country the first in the world to subject all products, including plastics, to extended producer responsibility. We know this is not enough, and we are ready to play our part in the elimination of plastic pollution. Nobel laureate Wangari Maathai, a daughter of our own soil, taught us the principle of the hummingbird, which is essentially beginning to do the work bit by bit until it is done. I thank the African Ministerial Conference on Environment for proposing that the UNEP headquarters in Nairobi be the host of the Secretariat for the Plastic Convention. The chairman of Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee in the synthesis paper to be considered at this meeting has also seconded this idea. It is not always common for the globe to speak in unison or act in urgency on an issue, especially when it is of an environmental nature. But the threat of plastics to our planet, our health, and our future is of such magnitude that it requires all of us, and I mean all of us, the global South and the global North, to develop and execute a global instrument that will help us to neutralize the threat of plastic pollution